I just got an error message on my screen. I hope this is working, but we're going to get started right now. Thank you. Little love technology, a little glitch there, but thank you so much for joining us. We're super excited to have our friends from Green Office Partner with us today. All of our workshops are about how to get more from the technology you have, how to learn about new technologies you need to know about. We've been doing a lot of conversations about AI, cybersecurity, and printing. Doesn't sound as glamorous as that, but printing is really, that's the workhorse of business. That's something everybody needs every single day. And we're all about trying to make things easier and better for local businesses when it comes to all things technology. So super excited to have the team here from Green Office, Alec and Brad. Thank you so much for joining us.
Welcome. And thanks for having us. Linda, thank you guys so much.
All right. Shall we jump on in then?
Let's do it.
Let's go for it.
Yeah. Can everyone see my screen okay?
Yep. We can.
I'm seeing it fine from here. Yeah, thank you.
Okay, perfect. Yeah, thank you guys so much for having us. So today we're going to be talking about managed print services, MPS. If you're in the industry, you might know that term. And what we're really talking about today is what you don't know about your print environment can still hurt you. So we're going to go over the details of the value of managed print services, and we're going to start by just talking a little bit about our relationship with Ekaru and how Green Office Partner works alongside them. So Green Office Partner, just so you know, it's an international provider of managed print services and solutions. We work with AI-powered document management. We work with conference room technology and managed print for clients across the United States and Canada. We've won several awards. We're recognized as an elite dealer by ENX Magazine. We've won the best place to work in Chicago by Crain's Chicago Business 3 years in a row, as well as 2 years in a row by the Chicago Sun-Times. We're an Inc. 5000 company. We have a lot to be proud of at our organization. And we work with Ekaru by working alongside them to take the complexity out of print. So we're a technology partner with Ekaru. We handle different aspects of our mutual clients' needs. So while they're handling more of the IT side, we're handling the managed print side. And there's a lot of benefits to us working with Ekaru, both for our teams. It makes everything a lot simpler to manage. And it also helps our mutual clients. So when your IT provider and your managed print services provider work together, it creates just a smarter, more efficient, and more secure workplace. It makes the unified technology strategy, helps strengthen security and compliance. It minimizes downtime. It helps because our organization has a national footprint, makes your organization scalable wherever you're expanding to across any state in the US and any province in Canada. And it also just creates an enhanced user experience. You know, everything is just a lot simpler for everyone involved when we have a direct line of communication and relationship with the IT provider, Ekaru. And I'm going to turn it over to Brad, our engineer, and he's going to be talking a little bit more about the technical side of managed print services.
Thank you very much for that, Alec. Good afternoon, everybody. I have a handful of slides to go over that will go a little bit more in depth into what MPS is. And for everybody that may or may not know, MPS stands for Managed Print Services. On this slide here, we're just going to talk about a really high overview of some of the offerings that are included all around MPS. And as you can see, there is the hardware. We start on MPS with Xerox and HP, our two flagship lines. And as you can see there, you can see A3/A4. All that is techie terms for, is it a really big floor standing machine or is it a smaller tabletop device, as you can see in the picture there. Nothing to worry about for you guys to learn anything. We do Xerox production devices, Canon Epson scanners and plotters, Zebra and thermal printing, which we're going to get into in the next 1 or 2 slides. And then we get into different types of solutions, from faxing solutions, secure print, and many other things too. Talking about thermal printing, we have a couple different lines on thermal printing. Epson, Canon, Zebra, Toshiba. As you can see, there's a lot of different players in thermal printing. And one of the things that we usually get people asking us about this is, what kind of device do I need? And it really does depend on what you're looking to get out of a printer. There's really two big classifications of thermal printing. One is more temporary and one is more long lasting. If you've ever been coming out of a restaurant and they print your order on the receipt and you can see the hot food turn the whole thing black, that's because it's a temporary thing, and it's a lot cheaper to use those supplies, but they don't last as long as the direct transfer that will last a long time. That's sort of stuff that's used more for UPS labels and stuff like that. We can definitely help you navigate which device is right and what size device is right for your organization. When it comes to wide format printing, scanning, and plotters, also kind of in the same range. There's entry-level wide format printers from 24 inches up to 44 and even wider inches than that. There's wide format devices that have 4 different color inks up to, it might sound crazy, but 16 different color inks. And most of the 4-color ink devices are designed more for architectural firms, or just basic. You want to print a quick banner to throw in the window to get someone's attention, up into the 16 ink ones that are designed more for printing on fabric and garments and doing professional photography. And then on top of that, you can add a scanner to it. So if you're a engineering company that you need to do markups on a big wide format printout and then rescan it in to send it out, there's also devices with scanners that turn a wide format printer into more or less a wide format multifunctional printer. So a lot of different things, a lot of cool technology in this arena that we can also discuss if this is something that is of interest for your organization. So now we'll get into what is MPS, Managed Print Services. And realistically, what that is a way to service your whole entire print fleet. And we can also go a little bit further into your workflows that it pertains to document input and document output. One of the things that we pride ourselves on is this is more than a tagline. Major manufacturer resources without the major manufacturer hassle. One of the things that we use is we use the backbone of both HP, Xerox, and a couple other manufacturers. We use a lot of their service to augment our service teams, but the biggest part about this is you have us to work on every facet of everything that revolves around your print infrastructure. You're not reaching out to separate companies. You're not reaching out to the manufacturer. We already have all of those policies, all those procedures, and we already have all the shortcuts that are needed to make sure that you get the fastest and the best response, no matter if your organization is in Boston, in Chicago, in Florida, or California with satellite offices. It's one unified team that is across the entire organization dealing with you and making life easy. So that's one of the things that we really bring to the table. Doesn't matter if it's one office, 50 offices, we are going to be able to grow and scale with you, and it's the same team that you're going to be working with across the ecosystem. So the next couple slides are going to go over the true cost of printing. And when we're talking about the true cost of printing, a lot of people just look at the cost of the printer. It's simple. I go into a store and I see 2 different printers. One's $500 and one's $3,000. Well, I don't need to spend $3,000 on a printer. I'll just buy the $500 one. Well, that's looking at one aspect, just the cost of the hardware. There's a lot more different costs that go into printing. So that's one aspect we're going to look into. Time. A lot of people, if you're a small organization and you have 10 employees and 1 printer in your office, it's not going to take a lot of your time to manage that one device. But if you are growing and all of a sudden you have 20, 30 printers, a couple different MFPs, all of a sudden it's going to take a lot more time for you to make sure that you have toner in stock and whatever else you need available to make those machines run. And also, it's going to take a lot of different controls, oversights. You need to make sure that you have the right security, the firmwares on all these machines. So we're going to go a little bit deeper into each one of these on the next 3 slides, but these are really the main areas that you really need to look into when you have a growing print fleet. So talking about cost, I'm a car guy, so I usually use car analogies for most of my stuff. And I feel like this one hopefully can, ring true with most people. I look at printers and cars in one way, the same thing, miles per gallon. And I use this analogy all the time because I feel like it really does resonate. And I use the example, if I live 2 miles from my office, I don't really care if I have a 1970s gas guzzler or whatever I drive, because I'm only driving 4 miles round trip per day. It doesn't really matter. I'm not going to use that much gas. If my office is 50 plus miles away from my house and I have to drive back and forth every day, all of a sudden that 1970s gas guzzler that just cost me $500 thrown in the junkyard doesn't make much sense anymore. Now, spending more money on a hybrid car that's going to get really good gas mileage, all of a sudden will start saving me a lot of money really quickly. So that's one of the biggest things I can talk about when it comes to costs, when it comes to the MPS. And that's one of the biggest things that we're going to help you look at is back to what I said a slide or two ago. If you're at that store looking at that $500 or $3,000 device, there's a reason that one costs more than the other. And going back to that mile per gallon analogy, usually that printer is going to get you more prints per toner, and it's going to cost you a lot less over the life. As I'm assuming a lot of people have already read a lot of those bullet points underneath. I'm not going to read each one individually, but there's a lot of different things that go into the costs when we're doing an assessment and analyzing, do you currently have the best and the right printer in your environment, or is an upgrade kind of going to help you guys out? So time. I feel, cost is what everybody talks about because it's the easiest thing to measure. It's the easiest thing to look at. I'm currently spending whatever, $500 a month, $5,000 a month on toner. How can you help me save money? That's the easiest thing. But a lot of things that people aren't really looking into or thinking about is time. When you switch over from managing your own printers to an MPS agreement, you are going to recoup a lot of that time that you're spent figuring out, do we have the right toners on the shelf? Or, oh, wow, one of the printers just ran on a toner and I don't have that toner on the shelf. And now all of a sudden it's an emergency that 3 people's time just went down the drain because they're trying to figure out who has it, who can get it here the fastest. Should I send somebody out to Staples just to go buy one today? And all that stress, it's just a lot of time, a lot of drain on the company. When you switch over to a managed print services, the toner arrives just in time, proactively, without any thought having to be put into it. So a lot more than just the cost that we're talking about on slide 1 that we just went over. Time is one of the biggest things that's giving back to you. We also have a lot of proactive services that go into this, that we're monitoring the machines. So a lot of times we'll know before the machine breaks that it's going to break. So we're reaching out with that.
It'd be huge to know that in advance. Absolutely.
There's a lot of different things. So I can go on time for the next, handful of minutes, but we can get into this further if there's any questions at the end. So let's get into controls. This is also, I've touched on this a little bit. Yeah, I'm sorry.
I'm going to interrupt you for a quick second. If there are any questions, there is a place where you guys in the community can put questions that we can ask, and we'll get to them at the end. So we are watching for those questions to come in if you have any. And while I've got you interrupted, a quick bit of housekeeping too. There's also a tab at the top that says materials. There's some stuff you guys can download. So if you're interested in more information, there's stuff that's downloadable for this presentation as well. Sorry, Brad.
Thanks.
Go ahead.
No problem at all.
Thank you, Linda.
The other thing I'm going to go on as far as time before I really get into control is we have, with the managed print services agreements that we do, we have automation software. We're looking at and able to run reports on how people are using the devices, how much they're printing, when they're printing it. So we can look at printers or areas or departments that are over or underutilizing the devices and say, hey, you have this device that's really robust in this area that's not being used, and you have a very, entry level device in this one that's just getting punished. Let's just move the two of them around. So when we get into this, it's a lot about reporting. It's about the analytics. It's about us looking at how your fleet is being used so that we can take away a lot of those frustrations that all the users are having that you don't possibly even know exist. So now, Alec, if you want to go to the control one. Perfect. So when we're talking about control, there's a lot of different ways that we can go down this route. The easiest one for me to kind of start talking about is who's printing what, where, when, and why. The age-old question. When you're looking at security, right now, if you don't have any tools in place, you don't know if people are printing confidential material, if people are printing information that they're taking to their next job. I have so many different stories about different organizations that had employees that left, and before they left, they printed confidential client lists and everything else and took it with them. I also have stories that we had control processes put in place, and they found out almost instantly as the employee started printing those things, and were able to head it off before the employee was able to take them. So control gets into a lot more than just who can print color, who can print black and white. I give this person a black and white driver to help them control their printing. It goes into HIPAA and all these other things that you might not be thinking about. The other big thing that when it comes to control is firmware. It's really one of those funny things I find the more conversations I have. People don't think about firmware, security, and printers. People just see a printer there and just, no big deal. But printers are like a computer on your network. And I have this little thing in my life that I say, manufacturers do not create new firmwares because they're bored. I don't care if it's your car, if it's your printer, if it's your computer. A new firmware is coming out because they found a security vulnerability, they found a glitch, a bug, or something that just wasn't working right. They devoted their time to fix. The one thing that we see across the board, I could say 95% of the time, I can see printer fleets when we do our assessments that are 10 years old and the firmware on those devices are 9 years old. You wouldn't let your computer go a month, a week. If it said update your security on your computer, you wouldn't hit ignore for 9 years on that, but yet printers, nobody's paying attention. One of the biggest things with an MPS agreement with Green Office Partner, we have automated firmware updates. Some printers are automated. We have a policy that we can put in place that they just automatically get it. If the printer can't get automatic updates, we're giving you the report, so at least you know that they are not in compliance and they need to be updated. At least you have the knowledge that that's needed to happen. And then the last control thing that I would like to talk about really quickly is ease of use. What I find is a lot of people, when they're doing their own printing management, over years, the print fleet isn't the same. You have different HP models from different years, from different decades. You might have a Brother in there. You might have a Dell in there. You have different manufacturers. Each one of those printers has a different print driver, a different screen, a different way to use it, a different way to learn how to send yourself an email from it or copy or whatever else it is. So once again, with all the information, all the noise that we are getting every day from every which direction, having a print fleet that's just one more thing on top of it that you have to walk up to and relearn or refigure out, it's just one more thing that just adds complexity and takes away time and, quite frankly, costs the company money. So Overall, these are all the different things that when we're looking at an MPS agreement, we're looking at every single one of these to make it flow easier, save money, save time, gain control across your environment, and realistically make it more secure. So I'm hoping some of you are now asking yourselves, well, how do we get one of these? You know, I need this. I don't know about my firmwares, and now I'm scared. And, you know, I don't want to scare you guys too much, but just a little bit. So, you know, where this starts is with an assessment. We don't know what you have or don't have, how your environment is good or bad. We don't know any of these. So what we do is we do an assessment. We meet with your leadership team, figure out, one, what are their goals? What do they want to achieve? What do they want to gain from this? It might be as simple as, I want to save money. It might be, I don't care about saving money. I'll double my costs. I just need to make sure my environment's secure and I have the best tools available for my team. Whatever that is, there's no right or wrong answer. It's what your goal is as a leadership environment. Once we have that consensus and we know what the point of doing the assessment is, now we can start figuring out what the objectives and challenges, and we can connect with users. So if it's a small print environment and it's not local, we might do this remotely. We always prefer to do it on site, because at that point, when we're on site, we can walk around the environment, we can talk to users, we can actually see how people are using the devices. So that is always our first choice, is to conduct an on-site walkthrough, because through that, once again, we really understand what the user's pains are, what the goal is, and how we can help best to achieve that. We will talk to people in the environment. And then once we're done with all that, we will review the current agreements. We'll look at invoices. So once again, our goal is to present to you where you're currently at today and figure out what the goals, the pain points, and then really figure out how we're going to achieve your future plans. Whether, like I said, whether that's saving 10%, whether it's spending 10% more, but getting whatever you need to get out of it. Once we have all of this information, at that point, we present our discovery findings to leadership. So we're going to show them you're spending X per month in hard dollars. This would be your contracts, your toner spending, your invoices. We then also look at the pain points around the user environments. One of the stories I like is it was a client in, I believe they were Seattle. They had a service counter, sales counter on the first floor, and they were doing HVAC stuff. So we were waiting for our appointment, and we were waiting about 10 minutes. And during the 10 minutes, I watched the staff go from behind the counter, walk up the stairs. About 3 minutes later, they came downstairs with a couple pieces of paper and handed it to the customer. And when we were in the meeting, I asked, why do you keep going upstairs? And the answer was simple. We don't have a copier down here behind the counter. The closest copier is upstairs and around the corner. And every time we need to make a copy, we have to go up there. And the question was simple. How many times did you do that? And he was like, I don't know, 10. And that takes you 3 minutes. And he's like, yeah. I'm like, so you're wasting 30 minutes a day just running up and down these stairs, and there's 5 of you? It just silly. I'm like, what about if we just got you a copier right behind your counter so you didn't have to run up and down the stairs? And he was like, never thought about that. That'd be great. So once again, you know, sometimes we are creatures of habits, that we just do what we do because we've always done it that way, and it just doesn't make sense, but it's just what we've always done. So, you know, a lot of times in the discovery findings, we're bringing ideas like that, and maybe the answer is no, we want them going upstairs because for security, we need to make sure. And there's no right or wrong answer, but you know, it's those ideas that allows us to get to the next stage. And I feel like I've already kind of hit the last one, which is brainstorming on the solutions. You know, we're going to have the conversations of, why are you doing it this way? Can it be different? Should it be different? And once we figure out that, you know, the answer is yes, we should do something different, you know, that's when we really work on the solution to go forward. And this is just a little bit more visual representation of what we discussed this whole time. So, you know, visually, it's a 7-step process. The first 4 steps are really part of the assessment when we're doing it. So we're going to assess your operation. We're going to find the pain points. We're going to find also what is working good. Not always do we need to change everything or anything. Sometimes it's, you already have the right devices. We just need to rotate them like tires, move them from one area to another area. Once we figure out all that information, at that point, then we're going to verify the findings with the team, discuss what services we can offer and solutions we can do to get you to where you want to go. Once we have all that done, it's just a simple contract. Once that contract is signed, at that point, we have an internal onboarding within our organization that we go over to make sure that everything, the sales side of our staff understood, makes sense to the operations staff that's going to actually be installing, training, and doing everything else. And then once that happens, then we have what we call the external onboarding. That is when we have a call with the client team to make sure that everything sales, everything our operations internal teams thought was true, matches what you think is true. And once that is all done, then we go on to step 5, where we deliver and install the equipment, remove the old equipment. It's step 6. And I like step 7 because it's purposely all the way at the end, because I don't know about you, but when I get a new device, someone hands me something that's brand new that I've never looked at before, and they ask me instantly, what training do I want? My answer is, I don't know. I haven't even looked at it yet. So we schedule our training usually a few weeks to a month, depending on what you decide you want, after the machines are there. And we really do say that, use the machines. And I just want to back up a second. We do have a very basic training. So we deliver the machines. We do a very quick basic training. So I don't want anybody here thinking that, oh, you just deliver the machines and run away. No, we don't do that. We do a basic training. But a few weeks after is where we do the follow-up training. And it really is cool, because this is where we get people saying, my old machine did this, why doesn't the new one? Or how do I do this? Or why does it? Or why doesn't it do X, Y, Z? And those are the more fun trainings, because now it's more Q&A, it's more interactive. The first training we do, we drop the machines off. We ask, are there any questions? And usually everyone looks at us, looks at the machine and says, nope, because they don't even know where to begin. So
we'll figure it out.
Yeah, exactly. I'll just keep on pressing buttons until something happens. And usually something does happen. Might not be what you wanted. But so that is really in a nutshell, without putting you guys to sleep, what a print assessment from Green Office Partner is, what our goal is. And I think the last thing I really just want to say again, if I haven't really driven home, we do not go into these assessments with any preconceived notion that you need to throw all your machines away, that all your machines are perfect, because we don't know what you have. We've walked into many environments that honestly, we don't have to put anything new in place. We can just put them under an agreement where you get the proactive toner replenishment, you get the proactive service where we're watching the devices and letting you know when something's wrong. We've gone into other devices, other environments that we've said everything needs to go. Everything is older than my daughter. They can vote now and they can almost legally drink. They need to go in the garbage. They've done what they've needed to do. Let's get you new stuff. So there really is no right or wrong answer, but it all starts with the print assessment so that we understand what your goals are, where you're at, and where you want to go. So with that, I think we have some time that we can hand it back over to Alec.
I love that picture, Larry.
Yeah, that's our favorite picture of Larry. But yeah, Larry on our team, he's the one who coordinates calls like this. If you do want to get an assessment for printing, it's complimentary. So if you're struggling, toners, jams, all kinds of frustrations like that, Larry will coordinate the meeting with the people at Green Office. He also does insurance, sets up insurance consultations and any VoIP phone consultations, by the way. So he's the point person there. And, you know, one of our core values, as you told some of the stories, like one of our core values is to be friendly and helpful. And I think of times where we've had some of our team on site with these giant, the wide format plotters, and somebody, hey, can you help? This is jamming. And like, well, we want to try because we're friendly and helpful, but we're really not qualified to do that. So that's why when we met the team at Green Office, we're pretty excited about this. The flip side of that is sometimes if people are working with a print management team, we'll get a random call like out of the blue. Oh, the people are here on site right now. We need you to come right away and change an IP address or something. It's like, well, yeah, we can't really teleport, and so coordinating the effort, I think, is going to be really beneficial to a lot of folks. And then we also have situations where we support maybe the Massachusetts office of a bigger company, and they have offices all over the place, and it's kind of becomes a hassle for it to have a one-off environment in the Massachusetts office, or like maybe it's a Westford office and they've got an office in Boston. It doesn't have to be out of state. So I see a lot of places this fits in.
For sure.
Yeah, and I love that you mentioned security, because the security around the data exfiltration, because us as tech people, cybersecurity, we're thinking about data loss prevention, with Microsoft 365 and technical safeguards in place. And there are situations where people will print, and that's a form of data exfiltration from a company. So like kind of having that whole 360 view, I think, is really important.
One of the biggest things when it comes to security is there's many different types of printing devices, from just a very old printer that doesn't have realistically a computer inside of it, to the newer copiers. Those, let's call it what it is. Those are computers that also have to spit out pieces of paper. They have hard drives in them with data on them. They're connected to the internet. They have full access. And with the speed that everything is going these days, there are a lot of different hacks that are using print jobs to embed into the printer and then get data. Every one of the printer manufacturers that are out there, they are releasing new firmwares quite often to fix those vulnerabilities when they're found. And if your current print provider, even if you already have an MPS agreement and you know what MPS is and you have copier contracts, I would venture to say that your current vendor hasn't updated your firmwares. And usually most vendors only update firmwares if they're out there for a service call and they think a new firmware might fix the issue you're having, versus having a proactive firmware policy that automatically updates them as they come. So it really is something that I don't think a lot of people think about, but it really is a big thing. It used to be a fear talk for us, now it's real life.
Yeah, well, cyber criminals, the reports show that cybercrime is the third largest economy in the world, behind the US and China. There's so much money in cybercrime. So the cyber criminals, they're going to figure out a way in. If the weakest link is the printer that's on the network with the years old firmware, that's how they're going to get in. And, from our perspective, we're always, on the compute side, we're putting in manage, detect, and respond. There's a whole bunch of different safeguards in place. But if your weakest link becomes the printer, now you've got a problem that needs to be addressed. So we're super excited to be working with the team. Linda, there's a question that popped up here, and there's also handouts that are in here, because this is kind of a new thing. Beverly's asking
at the top.
Yeah, is the equipment rented or owned? How long is the contract? Can you give a little insight to that?
Yeah, we do, I'll say majority of what we do are 5-year agreements where you lease the machine for 5 years and it's under service and everything. We have very few, but we have a handful of our clients that pay cash for the machines and own them. And then we also have a very smaller subset of people that will do like a 3-year agreement. To be honest, the 5-year agreement is the best. Printing technology changes. Another analogy I can have, if anybody's remodeled their kitchen in the last 10 years, you'll probably, agree with me. I remodeled mine, I think it was about 9 years ago, and I'm almost done replacing all my appliances. But the refrigerator that somebody has that's 30 years old is still kicking perfect. But, my 8-year-old refrigerator barely lasted 8 years. So the moral of my story is nothing's built like it used to be. HP printers that are 20 years old will probably run for another 20 years. A 5-year-old HP printer, HP got smart. They said, why are we building these things to last forever? If they break after 5 years, we'll sell more hardware. So anyways, Doesn't matter to us whether you want to pay cash and own the machine for 20 years, or if you want to do a 5-year agreement, or if you currently own the machines and we can place it under agreement. We don't even have to sell you anything. We can put it under an agreement too. So I know I didn't give you a concrete answer because there really isn't one. It really is what your organization wants and what they want to do. Like I said, I do think the 5-year agreement is the best on both sides of the equation for us and for you, just because it gets you into new machines before they start giving you more pain than they're worth, and you start swearing at them and kicking them.
Yeah, and I think that's the frustration and the time lost. And I think from our perspective, we always want to try to help, but we can't really, like, we don't take apart rollers and figure out how to stock the toner and all that stuff. So I'm excited about a great partnership. And I love that you're flexible and that you'll go through an analysis with somebody to figure out, what makes sense with a business focus, because that's really what it boils down to, is what is the need of the business.
Yeah, and we have one last thing. We have some of our clients that do a hybrid approach where they'll say, any of the more expensive machines we'll lease for 5 years. The smaller little black and white printers that, are pretty cheap, we'll pay for cash on those, and we'll just run them until they kind of die or do whatever they need to do. So there's really no one approach.
And
Yeah, and
speaking of dying machines too, that's something else to think about. We talk about them having, memory, and them having, being little computers basically, so that's something else at Ekaru that we do. When your machine does die, we help you to responsibly get it recycled and taken care of, so it's disposed of properly and not just out there in the wild.
Yeah.
There was one just before we wrap up. There's one question that came in. Do you take the old toner and recycle it, or how do you manage that?
So with our program, we have toner recycling boxes that will be on site, that they're pre-UPS stickered. So once you get the box, we usually say just don't fill it up all the way. Fill it up about halfway with toners, and you seal the box up and call the UPS guy to come and grab it. And they go back to a recycling place that will recycle the toners responsibly and give them to either third world markets to rebuild or whatever. I don't know what they do with them at that point, but I know that they do whatever they're supposed to.
But prepaid is a great option, so just send them back.
Yeah, and a lot of other programs, like I said, with our program, it's one box. You just throw 10, 15 toners in there, and then you send it out. A lot of other recycling programs, it's a little bit more of a pain because they want you to send each toner back one by one. And so you got to box up each one and send it back. And what I find with a lot of those programs is they just usually just end in the garbage because it's easier.
Yeah, stuff's not good in the garbage. I wonder, Alec, could you just go back to the previous slide before we wrap up? So if folks want to book an appointment, there's no obligation. So if you just want to talk about print and your situation, he'll arrange that with the team, Alec and Brad and the team at Green Office. And we do have handouts under, I think on my screen, they're up on the top of the screen. I'm not sure where they'll be on everybody else's. We have a couple of handouts. You can read a little bit more about this. And yeah, we'd love to, anybody out there who wants to set up a meeting, contact Larry. And I want to, if there's no other questions coming in, we'll try to wrap up. But I want to thank you, Alec and Brad, for being here. And we're super excited to be working with you. I think this solves a problem for folks that our clients that we work with, and from a lot of different angles that we talked about, and super excited that you're here today. So thank you very much.
Absolutely.
Appreciate it.
Thank you.
Thanks, Linda.
All right. Thanks, everybody.
All right, thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Thank you guys so much.
Bye-bye.